Hey, it's Kat at Orion Billing. I have made a video on this topic before. I will link that in the description, but today I want to break it down as simply as possible because this is a very commonly misunderstood thing in medical practice, and getting it wrong can genuinely end a practice. So let's get it right. I was asked, can you have two separate price lists, one for cash patients and one for insurance? Now, first I want to define something here. What I'm talking about is the practice's price list. We're having a thunderstorm. I don't know if you can hear that. I'm talking about the practice's price list. This is what you charge your patients and what you send out on claims to insurance. Some people refer to this as your practice's fee schedule, but fee schedule is also what insurance companies call their list of what they will pay you for different codes, and that's not what we're talking about. We are talking specifically about your practice's price list, what you charge. So the answer is, if you are billing insurance, the answer is no. You cannot have an insurance price list and a cash patient price list. Any insurance, in-network or out-of-network, private or federal, you have one price list. One price, that's it. This is part of your insurance contracts, and your provider contract is a real legal contract. Violating it has real consequences. If you're out of network, even within commercial payers, you have one price list. If you're enrolled with Medicare, but not contracted, meaning you're a non-participating provider, you still have to bill Medicare and you still have one price list. So here's the rule. You have one price list. You bill every insurance company the same amount. That's your standard fees. You also have to charge your cash patients based on this same price list. Insurance companies get mad if they find out that you're charging your cash patients less than you're charging them. I'm being funny there because it's a contract violation and it's potentially fraud. But that said, I was also asked, can you offer discounts to cash patients or package pricing to purely cash patients? And the answer is yes. A purely cash patient with no insurance involved at all is a completely different situation. The insurance contract rules don't apply because there's no insurance in the picture, but there has to be truly no insurance involved. If the patient is, for example, Medicare eligible, they are never truly no insurance cash patients from a compliance standpoint. Okay, so what can you do? There are exactly two situations where you can charge a patient less than your standard fee, and that's it. There are two situations. Option one is a time of service discount. This is what some people call their cash price list. I started talking about this with a client recently because I noticed that in their software, even their software calls it a cash fee schedule and an insurance fee schedule. And that is, I wouldn't do it. I don't even refer to it that way. Because if a cash patient pays in full for their services on the date of service, you can offer them a time of service discount, also called a prompt pay discount. The OIG, Office of the Inspector General, addressed this directly and approved prompt pay discounts in the range of 5 to 15%. The rationale for that is that it reflects the actual savings of your bookkeeping. For collecting payment at the point of service costs you less than going to all of the trouble of trying to collect from patients later. Here are the rules that go with it. It has to be applied consistently to every patient who meets the criteria. You can't pick and choose. The patient pays in full on the date of service. That's what time of service means, literally that day. If a patient forgets their wallet and you send them a bill, the discount is gone. They need to call you that same day with a card number or come back and pay in person. If that doesn't happen, it should revert to your standard fee. The discount has to be defensible as a reflection of your actual billing cost savings, not only a way to make cash patients feel like they're getting a deal. You want them to get a deal, you want them to feel like they're getting a deal, but it can be such an incredible deal that it's way beyond what you're actually saving by collecting from them at the time of service. And just to go back to that framing point, don't call it your cash fee schedule. I don't recommend that. because it's not really. It's your time of service discount from your one price list. If you're in network with insurance, you have a price list and you have a time of service discount. And those are different things. Calling it a separate fee schedule, even casually in writing, in patient accounts and things, could potentially create risk for you. So I just don't recommend it. Okay, option 2, the second thing that you can do is you can have a financial hardship waiver. If a patient is experiencing genuine financial difficulty, you may be able to reduce or waive their portion, but only if you do it correctly. You need a written policy with actual criteria. I think I have other video on this. If not, there will be one coming. If I do have one already posted, I'll link to it also. But the patient has to apply. They have to provide documentation of their financial situation and actually qualify based on what your policy says. And it needs to be handled case by case. It can't be something you advertise, and it can't be something that you do routinely for anyone who comes in and just says they're struggling and you give it to them. They need to apply and qualify. This is not the option for the patient you know from church. It's not for someone who's having a rough day. Those are violations. Those are not hardship waivers. So what you absolutely cannot do is you can't charge someone less because you know them personally. You can't write off a family member's copay or deductible as a favor. You can't routinely waive patient balances without a documented qualifying reason. You can't adjust patient balance down after insurance is already paid. You can't really tell patients that you'll work something out with them on their balance. None of that is gray area. Okay, so let's talk about immediate family members. This one surprises a lot of providers. Medicare will not pay claims for services billed by a provider to their own immediate family members. And most commercial insurers have the same rule written into their provider contracts. The reasoning being that if that patient didn't have insurance, you wouldn't charge them. So you don't get to charge their insurance either. You treat your family, you don't bill their insurance. And immediate family members' definition can include spouse, children, parents and step-parents, siblings, grandparents, grandchildren, in-laws, and members of the provider's household. I'm reading this because I wanted to make sure I listed them all. It's not just your spouse and kids. Doing this price list situation is not, let's just say, messing it up is not a small problem. I just want to be clear about that if I wasn't already. There is a federal law called the Anti-Kickback Statute. And in plain English, it says that it is illegal to use money, discounts, or anything of value to attract patients whose bills are going to Medicare or Medicaid. So if you're routinely charging your insured patients less than your price list or routinely waiving what they owe out of pocket, the government's position is that you're giving them a financial incentive to choose your practice. And that is not legal. It doesn't matter that you mean well. It doesn't matter that you didn't know. Ignorance of the law is not a defense. That is talking about billing federal programs. The Anti-Kickback Statute applies to federal programs. And it's a federal felony. Up to 10 years in prison and up to $100,000 in fines per violation. On top of that, civil penalties up to $100,000 per violation, plus up to 3 times the dollar amount involved. Under the Federal False Claims Act, penalties up to $27,894 per claim, plus 3 times the value of every affected claim. And giving Medicare or Medicaid patients anything over $10 as a financial incentive to choose your practice can trigger fines of $10,000 per occurrence. That does not sound like a good time to me. If an audit finds your practice has been doing this systematically and it's clear that you knew better, you are looking at termination of your payer contracts, potential permanent exclusion from Medicare and Medicaid, and depending on the circumstances, action against your license. That's what I meant when I said they don't like it and it could put you out of business. Now, when we're talking about commercial payers, not federal payers, it still matters. Your provider contracts tell you that dual fee schedules and routine waivers of patient responsibility is a contract violation. And that alone could get you terminated from every payer you're credentialed with. It doesn't need to be a federal crime to potentially put a very painful dent in your practice. Most practices have a mix of patients, but the second you have even one Medicare or Medicaid patient, the anti-kickback statute applies to your practice. You can't run a dual price list for your commercial patients and a compliant one for your federal patients, for example. Okay. So I feel kind of bad telling you all these things that you can't do. It did give you the things that you can do, but just to bring it home, if insurance is involved, any insurance, you have one price list. Please do this correctly. You have those two narrow exceptions, and neither one is a second price list. If a patient has absolutely no insurance at all, confirmed, documented, no federal coverage, not Medicare eligible, you have flexibility. Put your pricing in writing and apply it consistently, and that is all there is. I will link the references to everything I talked about today in the description, including the Office of the Inspector General guidance and the specific laws, so that you have those if you need them. Please feel free to send me any questions in the comments, and I hope you have a great day.